Welcome, everyone, to the 323rd, I want to say. Is that where we are? Does anyone know?
Sure.
Yes. Let's just
Yeah.
say yes.
Just yes. 322nd, not 323rd. There you go. 322nd weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. Somehow we are here. We're alive. And only mostly filled with fear. Today we got a small horde of silly faces. We got a Vex.
Hello.
We got a Fluffy's Eye.
Hi.
There's a CPC hidden off in the distance. And a Pixie Nup. And an Alley Claw.
Hello. And of course, a Zomzom.
Lies.
What if we told you it wasn't lies?
Oh.
He refuses to accept this reality.
As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any art you'd like to submit, feel free to do that. Otherwise, let's get started. So our first graffitied picture this week is by Honeycombs. There goes ungraffitied. This is by Honeycombs, and it's got back into art after years of putting it off because I tend to be a perfectionist. I feel proud of this one and want to know if anyone has any critiques or suggestions. Thank you so much. Smiley face. My name ideas would be cool too if you want.
Well, congratulations on getting back into drawing and doing something that you're proud of. That's amazing.
Strawberry drop. Wait, no. Napoleon ice cream. Yeah, they look like anyway, they look like that. Yeah. They got the pink, the brown in the eyes, the white, you know.
Or
yeah, Neapolitan or Neo could work.
With the chocolate eye makes me think of like cherry cordials, which is like chocolate covered cherries. I know it's not like a bright red, but the red heart eye and the chocolate eye. I don't know why. Just chocolate cordial or cordial cherries.
Ooh, cordial would be a cute name. Anyway, by the way, welcome back to Arting. This is a fun place to be. Don't be worried about perfect. I know this is just a voice on the internet saying this to you, but being perfect blows, and you'll never achieve utter true perfection because every time you hit a plateau, you'll start staring at it and go poking new holes into it. So if I was to suggest something, it would be get into the habit of accepting the dirty and accepting the mistakes and just making lines for the fun of making lines. One of the best ways I've found to ever do that is you put a very tight time limit onto doing it. So things like the 5-minute challenges or minute challenges, and your goal is just to make doodles and just have fun with it. Not do a finished product, but you're just trying to see how much you can get done and let your brain flow and just let your arms move and wiggle about while creating pictures. Don't worry about the finished product.
That's what I mean.
Heck yeah. I like it.
Some limits stress me out, but they can help some people.
I would probably say these nostrils and the mouth could be a little bit darker, just because they there's a lot of contrast between, say, the two colors here, the hair color and the sort of rest of it. You've got the dark line over here, big difference between the whites of the eye and that sort of stuff. Here, there isn't as much contrast, and it kind of means that it blends together. So it doesn't need to be crazy, just like a little bit darker would probably help that pop a bit more. But cool shapes with the hair and all that sort of stuff. Are these wings?
I believe so.
Okay. That works. You could probably... It looks like this is a hoof. You could probably just make... See someone messing about with the wing there. If this is kind of the end of the hoof and the hoof is kind of like coming up like this, I would kind of just make the end of this hoof a bit bigger. Yeah. Something like that. Size-wise-ish kind of sort of thing. If that's meant to be the hoof. But it looks good. Looks fun. Colors of Napoleon ice cream, so I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's adorable. Keep it up. Keep going. It's nice to see you back. Hopefully we get to see more from you. Shall we move on to our next lovely one?
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you have anything in particular you'd like to ask about your pictures, any sticking points, any issues you're having, please ask away. We often respond better or are able to deliver you more pointed answers that way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our next one is by Educational Tree 385. Hello, I just got here. Smiley face, or sorry, heart. Wanted to showcase a commission I did not too long ago. Very
Heck
cute.
yeah, commissions. Let's go.
Love all the spots on the face. And what you've done with this mane? Those highlights. Yeah. They look so good. You've layered out the coloring on it. Fluffy ears.
This is really well rendered. I like it. And good interesting use of like line weight down here. Looks cool.
Nice folds.
Hmm.
And your brushstrokes to try and add accents to the fluff. Very good.
Hmm.
The separation as the mane moves from here, so we have a blob of hair basically sitting here. We can see the overlap happening. But this neck fluff, the jacket fluff, has already moved well past the side of the head and is on the way all the way around to orbit. I'm just trying to see the separation here, but I can't really see, like, it doesn't appear to be like another piece sticking out way far ahead of the rest of the mane. I would almost break this section up into 2 or 3 spots just so you can try and layer it a bit more to show that it's moving backwards with it. Even if just breaking it up with a few strokes of this dark color using, maybe darkening up a bit more like you did here, that would help. Or doing what you did for the highlights here, those darks and whites. It might help break that section up because the back has no delineation of the volume compared to the front.
I can see that. So you've got these strokes in here, like painterly kind of strokes. So like, note how things are shaded and all that sort of stuff. In this area in particular, instead of making the strokes go like this kind of a way, it would probably make a little bit more sense to have them like go this kind of a way. Because if you think about it in like a 3D kind of a sense, back here, like, yeah, all that kind of makes sense. And then as it kind of goes around, it'll kind of like have this sort of a shape and a similar kind of like a story for like over here. It's just like contour lines kind of going around and making these strokes kind of match what those contour lines sort of do will help sort of reinforce the form that you're trying to sort of express around here. But it's a small thing. Just stuff to help reinforce the form that you're already using. I like the kind of salt and pepper like blasts of stuff around here. Looks good. You can see someone down here like giving some more definition to this like part of the hoof, specifically like around here with that sort of bump with these kind of like shapes. Making it more like a 3/4 kind of view instead of like a side view. Oh yeah, sort of. Especially like at this end of the hoof here, having that kind of face forward more instead of like facing completely sideways-ish kind of thing. It's hard when you're doing like this kind of material because sometimes having like too many ruffles kind of all over the place can like almost obscure the form and make it a little bit more difficult to see what's going on. If you look with this redraw that or this red line that CPC is doing, you can see that this line in particular, they've made that fairly straight because this area is kind of an area that you wouldn't see too much movement on, whereas an area like this, you know, you've got all sorts of overlaps, you've got like all sorts of things going around. I think something else that I would kind of point out is over here, this like right side of the fluff and all that sort of stuff. That looks like all kinds of like puffy and fluffy and all that kind of sort of stuff. Around here, because all of these little sections are so small, it ends up looking a little bit different in terms of texture. I'd probably like try to introduce some more of these like big sort of shapes around here, just to kind of help reinforce that's the kind of the same material. And you can have it like, because they're like leaning into it, you can have it like puffing out and kind of being overlapped by the cheek and then being overlapped by the some more by the shoulder around here. You could even have the shoulder, to be honest, overlapping this more, because then you've got that like kind of lean where this side is like leaning. This side is like leaned more towards the camera, and this side is like more in the background kind of thing. But I love it. Good sketch, and good nostrils as well. I like it. Anyone else have any comments, things to mention?
On this. All right, shall we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. Keep on chucking stuff our way if you want. All that. And ask questions.
All right, our next picture up is by Iquus Lunaris, and it's "What do you think about babies?" Smiley face. So this is the second picture in the 3 pictures they've submitted.
I really, really like the tail accessory. I kind of want to steal that design aspect. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
It reminds me of like Hercules, kind of.
Very Greek.
Mm-hmm.
Seems
Don't
like a
see
very
any
cute
questions.
I like the sort of subtle red shading kind of around here, around like the nose and under the eyes and stuff
Yeah, I
like
like
that.
that
That looks
stuff.
really cool.
It's very
Yeah.
cool.
We'll say if it's coming around the tail, you'd probably see it come off the other side,
That's
Mhm.
be hanging down like that as well. And then you'd see a little bit of the other side of this pendant too, probably.
also it's just personal preference, but I personally dislike having like a main color that's too close to the body color. 'Cause my first immediate impression looking at this picture is that this is a work in progress like picture. Like I thought this was like part of the design phase, and this is kind of a colored sketch. Like you got a sketch, and you've slapped a few little accents on just to help show things, but that it's still sort of working in progress because it feels kind of like my brain just sort of matched the main colors and the body colors together as being part of just like a general sort of grayscale sketch. As opposed to if it had sort of like maybe like a blue sort of base or something, if you're going for that sort of like celestial look, or just whatever you want to do, something that separates it might help to make it look a bit more filled out and colorful, to sort of go with like the color of the eyes and the accessories. Like it doesn't have to be super acrylic, but like something sort of nice and vibrant to draw your eye might help to make the character feel a bit more full.
Yeah. It
think
doesn't
that's
need to be like super different either. Like it's just like if I color pick from a spot here and then a spot on the main as well, they're literally the same color. So even like a little tint different will help sort of
Mhm.
make clear what parts are what. Yeah, you can
This
see
is
some
already like
dying.
not exactly the same hex code, but it's close enough that the brain sort of puts them together, you know? This is just all suggestions though, like you don't have to listen to us.
Yep.
It's just fun to experiment and see what different possibilities there are, because there are so many lovely like possibilities of color design out there.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Oh.
that's not how to color a character.
Are you sure? Works for me. Turn the character blue.
Down here on the hooves, the hoofers, you've got the sort of all of this fuzzy, fluffy stuff.
Edit.
A lot of like the shapes, like the individual like little bits of stuff, they're like similar sizes, and because they're all similar sizes and really like in fairly similar places and all that sort of stuff, it ends up not looking as dynamic as it could look. So you can see some people messing around here, making some like larger shapes. So let me grab a different brush. So like for example, a larger shape there, bunch of smaller shapes around here, kind of like medium-ish shapes, like they're like going around behind the back of the hoof and all that sort of stuff. And just like differing kind of the size and shape of everything. And that kind of like helps inject a little bit more visual interest into the fluff.
Yeah.
Like you've got up here. Like up here you've got like, different sizes, things going in like different directions, as you go and all that sort of stuff. And that looks a lot more dynamic. Something that I would also mention is that you've got like this line going all the way up here. And what I would say to keep in mind is that in areas where there's like a smooth transition, that's the areas where you can get rid of this line. For example, around here, it's going to be like fairly smooth, the fur between these two areas. So what I can do is I can kind of erase a lot of that line between those two areas, and that can help kind of, that can help it look a little
Well,
bit
quite like with
more.
the saturation layer. Actually, it's quite cool. It's more purpley.
Yeah. Lots of fun stuff you can do. But we
Shall we
like
move on to our next one?
Heck yeah.
Sure.
Sweet.
Good art.
Yeah. All right. Our next one up is by I just had their Corrupted Luna Twitter, and it is Flower Pony _ closed.
The
Assume
cow
it's closed
keeps
because it was a York character here.
possibly.
I see no questions on here. I will say, I noticed you posted 2 posts within about 3 hours of each other. If you could avoid doing that, that'd be great because I thought we had rules. But, oh yeah, posting period. There it is. Please wait 24 hours between posts. You do not want to overload people critiquing art. We're those people, it seems. We also need help critiquing. So please feel free to critique other people's art. You'll learn a lot from it too.
Oh, yeah.
And please, ask some questions about your art. What problems did you encounter? Why did you decide to post it to the subreddit? What are you trying to get out of the critique?
Mm-hmm.
These type of things. We love to answer them because they, depending on your level of art, sometimes it's a lot easier for us to have pointed questions rather than just general, this is how you lay out a face, this is how you make arms, not noodles, that type of thing. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Just did some sketching over of the wings. Just to feel like
Yeah.
the feathers were they're very, very fluffy. If that's what you want, then great. If you want it to feel more sort of like a wing, the feathers kind of usually sit in a direction. It's they sort of cape and hang over one another because they've got to direct the wind. So typically there's sort of like a direction to the feathers going on that you want to just sort of have that nice flow going.
So I just lowered down that far ear a bit. Based on how the rest of your pictures go, it seems this is still a upright ear for you, where it's, it's there. Your other ear appears to be ending towards the middle of the head, which is an incorrect positioning of that final section of the ear. So I just twirl it about on the head a bit to lower it down. That should help clear that up a bit.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna have like the ear back there, it's the ear will be like twisting back, and so you'd end up, instead of like this kind of a shape, you'd end up with something more like that. Yeah, something like ish, kind of like that ish. Ears are fun. It's always cool to mess about with them.
Mm-hmm. Flair will do your picture next, all right?
Heck yeah. New picture, let's go.
Really cute
Have we critiqued this person's art before?
picture. Yeah, last week.
Okay. Oh, okay. I feel like we might have said this in last week's thing, but keeping in mind like to leave some space there for the side of the head would be good. All good. No stress. Fun picture. I like it. You can see someone messing about with the wing, having like the main sort of bit of the wing, and then having everything else like kind of curve over, come off of it and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
The wings are hands, so you got to sort of keep in mind that sort of branching out.
Heck yeah. Pretty handy tip from Zyga.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments on this picture?
Nope. It's very cute.
All right. Let's go stick in Flair's picture here. Boop. All right. Just under that Luna is Flair's picture. So I have some art to throw in. It's a bit of a messy sketch, so I'm not sure how readable it is, but hopefully it's good enough to be critiqued. In particular, the far wing and mane wrapping around the neck. I tried my best, but they still feel odd. And yeah,
How dare you give us not completely finished and perfect pictures? Gosh, how dare you give us things to actually critique?
Yeah, where you can improve on it. Jeez, crazy. No, this is actually where we really love to get art, especially art where you have questions of it, because we'll likely see that correction, and that makes us happy.
Interesting.
Those, because it's only visible part, is the tips.
I think something that's throwing me off a little tiny bit is this is like a little bit of a dynamic kind of pose, but it's actually a pretty dynamic pose. But because all of the hooves are like perfectly like at right angles to each other and all that sort of stuff, it still ends up looking a little bit stiff. So what I would probably do for a pose like this is this like floor grid is great. I love it. But you could probably do something along the lines of like, hey, this hoof is like coming out towards us, so this hoof, like pull that back a bit so that it's like not completely in line with the other two, or that sort of stuff. And with that kind of thing, you could probably even like have this like shoulder raised up a little bit, and then that kind of back out of the rump, like lower that down a little bit. You could probably also give him a little bit more of a neck, and I'd probably just do that by like grabbing the head and just making it a little bit smaller. There's a bit more of a neck there, because like if you go here, it's like basically straight into the body. It's always difficult when you've got like this kind of a hoof coming out towards the camera, trying to position that properly. I think you're probably going to need to make this bigger, because this hoof is closer to the camera than any of the others, but this hoof looks bigger than that one does. I think that's probably something you can like mess around with. Yeah, have something like this, and then have that like have more overlap here, so have less of this like back part of the hoof showing, and like end it like doing something like that, roughly ish. You can see that someone drew this like extra wing back here.
Yeah. So,
And
if I may, cheating on wings is okay for the sake of framing, because art is art is art is art, and it is a picture depiction of whatever the heck you want. So cheat away if it means better framing some days. In this case, all I've done is take the wing and slightly turn it forward, especially because her head's turning. Having her other like trailing wing flicking with the head sort of makes sense for that type of body movement that's going on.
And it makes sense because this close shoulder is like being pushed back a bit. This far shoulder will be going forward, and so that like kind of helps that wing positioning make sense. And another fun thing Let me switch to like a blue. You've got like lines of action, which are just the main lines of like movement through the body. So like I was talking about the main movement through here. I'd probably like put it like somewhere like this. But with that extra wing like flaring out here, you've got like that creates like a secondary kind of line of action that like goes through here for the wings, and that ends up looking like really cool. So it really helps reinforce the pose in general.
I'd say with legs, you really usually don't need to exaggerate the pose as much as you have. Like it's good to exaggerate things for sort of experimenting and testing, but the character is very much like stretching her legs fully out, and it's sometimes not. It's not necessary to be quite that extreme. Like they are very much like trying to play Twister right now, and maybe pulling the legs in will make it feel a little bit more comfortable. But that's just me anyway.
That main. The main. I think the main looks good. With the main, I'd probably do something like similar to what you have down here, but here, I'd just push that down. Have that like flare out in the same way that it does with yours, but have it like come around. And then what you can do is follow this like curve around here, and then have this like do something like that. And then when you erase this middle bit for the ear, it all like looks like one shape. Like if you look at like Twilight's like show art and all that kind of sort of stuff, you've got like the angles right, like the main kind of goes down a little bit and then out and around, and then goes that, and then it like does the little whatevers. But when you're trying to like put the main in like with a sort of dynamic pose like this, sometimes it can be more important to just like have things kind of linking up and just be a bit more sketchy with it.
You got any more questions for us, Fleur?
Looking at birds for wings is also useful. I love going onto the line of action animal tool and just staring at the birds and sketching the birds. They have wings turned in all kinds of directions.
The mane wrapping around the neck. How? All right. Overlapping is gonna. Sorry, is this a question of how do you draw it, or how the heck does it overlap? Because overlapping is the key here to make it appear that it's wrapping around. And if you have a few layers of it, it'll help with that. Even for the far side, just making it overlap some of the other bits, like the tail and a little bit of the back, will help with that.
Oh, wrapping around that side. Okay, interesting. Honestly, what I would probably do in that case is just look at like, all right, this like front sort of bit of the mane here, like goes that has this sort of shape. I usually assumed that it'd have like a similar shape on this kind of side. So I'd just like, do something like that roughly. Erase the bits. And then usually just like fill that in, to be honest, with the main color. I with a main like Twilights from this kind of a pose, I don't think I'd see her main kind of coming into like wrapping around in front of the body too much. But that's just me. I wouldn't overthink it too much. If you have like more loose kind of main styles and all that sort of stuff, you can like, have like little wisps coming along and doing all that sort of stuff. But I think here and here is where you can like focus most of your efforts. Over the wing, yeah. I think in that case, when it's like main versus the wing kind of thing, I think it's just a case of thinking about which one's going to be in front. With this like far wing, I'd say that this is probably going to be in front, so it probably just wouldn't affect it that much. With that far wing, yeah, I just probably wouldn't worry too much about it. I think because this wing is like on this side of the body, and that main is like on the opposite side of the body, it's probably not going to affect it either. If you're able to, we could like mess around with this in the critique channel afterwards. So I think it's going to be a bit of back and forth and all that kind of sort of stuff.
This is definitely an element of play that I would suggest doing in this picture. A few thumbnails of even just the mains, just trying to work out what you're looking for, because it might not be fully conveyed, or you might just be having struggles conveying it through text, or it might just be, you're trying to imagine something in your head that doesn't quite work for the picture. So doing a bunch of thumbnails for this might help out to further cement what you're looking for.
The thing that I would recommend is like, have this without hair and then create a layer and just try, sketching the hair roughly and, seeing how it looks and all that sort of stuff. Just be loose and sketchy with it and sort of see what ideas look like they'll work and which ones don't look like they'll work. Because at some point, being like so exact and specific about what will specifically work and what won't specifically work in like 3D space and all that can sometimes be a bit limiting. So, yeah. It's all good. Have fun. Draw good pictures.
All right, shall we move on to our next picture?
Heck yeah.
All right, let's go to the second row, left-hand side. This picture is by Limey18, and it's Sir Blackjack #2. Hey, Limey. We've seen a lot of pictures from you, a lot of posts, and I think one thing that holds true for all of them is this is the pose they all have. That's a lie. Nearly every single pony you have posted has the same pose, and that's not a bad thing, but variety is fun. Variety is what can drive art. Doing the same thing over and over again isn't as useful to you for expanding your art horizon as just doing the same thing over, or just, it isn't as useful as for expanding your art horizon as trying something new, trying new poses, just breaking up the monotony. So if I was to give you one point of critique just to start off, it'd be try a new pose. Let's get a front view. Let's get 2 horses, high hoofing. Let's get one running off into the background or something. Doesn't matter, but breaking up this 3/4 or profile pose might be beneficial to you. It will also help you learn a bit more about the anatomy of these ones. Like, how does this leg look on the side? Well, why does it look like that? Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So they have, let me see, questions? No questions.
Right, there's drawing over there.
Those are some fluffy fetlocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oops, wrong keyboard. I was trying to track the camera.
If I was to suggest something, you've done the fluffy fetlock, and that's cool and it's very interesting. I would also add a bit of a hoof to that, just to give a bit more visual separation, because what I'm seeing is all of these hooves have like a mustache growing on them, and then that hair goes down all the way to the ground. If you were to change that out to like a gray hoof, or in this case maybe an orange hoof or something just to give a bit of an accent to the bottom and delineate where that hair is and the hoof, like the bone part of the hoof actually appears, that would be very useful for you.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it's always fun to have the end of the hoof be like different colors and stuff like that.
Definitely bright pink. Neon pink?
Yep, 100%. Done.
With a pose like this, one thing I like to do, and this isn't mandatory, but it just looks nice, to sort of tuck the front, the sort of back front leg, if you will, the further away one, behind the more close one a little bit. Just makes it look a little bit more dynamics. The characters aren't necessarily going to stand in exactly the most static of poses. In fact, we could probably bring this back leg out just a little bit like this, and I'm not saying you shouldn't draw these feathery fetlocks, by the way. I'm just ignoring them for the sake of just showing you the leg poses. We could bring this leg forward a little bit. That's very bad. It would actually have a hark, but there we go. No, that's not the pen. Yeah, doing something to sort of break up the sort of staticness of the legs can help a lot. Be wary of this though. We've got the leg in this one that comes down as this very high, very rigid bump, and then completely flat tube legs. We don't want that. We want to have this nice meaty thigh. You know, there's all these muscles and fat here, and then the bone is going to be a little bit lower than where you've got it, and it's not going to be that rigid of an angle. A lot of people will make it very, very sharp, whereas it's, I think, only going to be sharp if you've got the leg bent back. So like if the leg was sort of bent like this, being lifted up, then it would have kind of a sharp angle. But otherwise, when it's relaxed, it's not going to have too much of a steep angle there. And yeah, just make sure I like that you've got the sort of like curve with the fluff here. It's good. Just giving the pony, muscles. There's like a shoulder there on both sides, and having the legs sort of have a shape to them that isn't just like a paper towel tube. Will help you to feel a lot more dynamic. They're squishy marshmallows of muscle and fat on top of the bone. That's a good thing. Oh yeah, and the wing also, because your wing is sort of like coming out. In fact, firstly, it's way too high up because like the neck, if what we can estimate is something like this, and the wing is literally coming out of the neck here. You can see that. We see the mane sort of tucked around it. The wing's literally coming out of the neck. So you want just like a little sort of folded thing here, or you could just omit this part and just have the wing shape. But putting it at an angle and having it stick out from the body, making sure it's connected here, on the sort of just behind where the shoulder of the leg is, will help a lot to show that connection that's like sitting on the body and that can be unfurled. So remember, when it does get unfurled, it'll look like this. You've got the sort of joint going like this, and then fingers, because it's an arm. So you can go from that, and you can imagine it folded up onto the body.
All right, shall we move on to our next picture?
Yeah. I hope that was helpful for you. Oh, I love this little purple
Yeah.
one in the bottom that someone's drawn.
Swoosh in all
Swoosh.
directions. Swoosh.
Make your easy. Swooshing is always good.
All right, this is a follow-up picture from last time by Beginning Draft 90902. Thanks for all the banana pony critique, so I made a little nanners. Look at the little
Hell
nanners.
yeah.
Nanners. It's funny.
We love it.
I don't really have much critique for this one, just because it's a follow-up, basically the same sort of thing. It's just adorable. I just wanted to tell you it's adorable, and it's cute, and I want to see more little nanners. In fact, can we get a little bushel of little nanners?
Am I the only one who could? I could easily imagine this character being like the mascot, or at least artwork of it, at like one of those like indoor play area things that were like padded and stuff. You'd like go into like the big net and just climb around and go in like ball pits and slides and stuff. I can imagine this being a character that you see around when you go to like the cafe or whatever, or like a little shop to nag your parents with Beanie Babies.
I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
If you have a sticker maker, just stick up stickers
Yeah.
of it around.
Mm-hmm. It's because it's so like brightly colorful and fun looking. A very cute character.
Keep it up. This fun, playful art style, like character creation, is good. There's someone called M on our server who
Uh-huh.
is like the queen of colorful, playful art OCs. I think
Creations is
you
good.
two would have a great conversation
Designing
about
random
trying to
things.
pound OCs out. Just like 200 OCs in an afternoon. Anyone else have any other comments or critique about this beyond the little cheek?
No.
Excited to see more stuff and more sketches from you.
I
Keep on drawing.
love this the concept, especially in the tail here, where the little streaks look like bananas on a bush. Because like normally, I say if you've got to have streaks, they got to go like all the way along the tail, but not here, because this is perfect. I love that it has a theme, and I love that you've done that. It looks super good.
Yeah, actually, that's really nice. Yeah, you can see it's not quite as clear in the main up here, but down here it's like
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, and the Philly one you've done this way better. That
like
which is the one that you did afterwards, I think, right?
Yeah.
So I can see how you sort of experimented with that idea, but it was a good version. So well done.
Good experiment.
All right, let's move on to our next one. It appears to be our last one. So this one is by... Oh, there's so many pictures to click through. There it is. Shista_chosen. Philly Anon, the very first attempt.
From a pony named Nanners to a pony with no manners.
So they actually commented, today I tried to draw for the very first time since elementary school. At first, Philly and Nan supposed to say, dude, everyone draws, even ponies. They have hooves. But later, it's, why am I suffering? What have I done? Don't draw anymore. Yep. Draw.
I will say, hooray, you drew and you made something. Hell
This is
yeah.
good. There's lots of goodness to this.
If you haven't drawn since elementary school, without knowing your age, this is freaking wild. Even if it's only been like a few months, the fact that it's not in the entire time, and it's not messy, your proportions are good, and the character has a good face, the expression going on that holds true with the rest of their body emotion. Good. Dang. keep drawing more. I want to see more out of you.
Yeah, probably the main thing that's gonna help is try to draw from your shoulder, because that's gonna help you make more larger, smoother lines and all that sort of stuff, like avoiding this chicken scratchy kind of stuff. And don't be afraid to get darker with your lines. Either
Yeah.
press harder with your pencil, or you can grab a pen and just
I
start
yeah,
messing with
I'd
the
like
pen.
drawing pretty lightly as you're sort of building up the sketch, and I can see you've done it under sketch, which is cool. There are definitely signs of sort of erasing things and drawing over, which do lots more of that. You want to be doing like your head circles as whoever's doing the purple has done here. You want to be doing that sort of stuff. But then once you've got that base down, what you can do is sort of lightly erase over it if you need to. Kneaded erasers are really good for that, but you can use just like a thick one. And then go over with, especially if you've got like a nice sort of fine dark pencil, you can get some good mechanical pencils. And I was always on like a journey. Whenever I went to a different store, I'd go to like the art supplies section, look for any fancy mechanical pencils to buy. Then just go over it and make it look nicer, because then you can just slowly adjust it and say, okay, well, maybe if I want to push the nose a little bit more like this, and I can like exaggerate expression a little bit more, and you get to go over it because you have the base there that you can sort of go off of. So it helps a lot to sort of build it up in layers. But yeah, you definitely want to go like darkening it and pushing it. Only real thing I wanted to change was the leg on this side was a bit smaller than the leg on the other side, which obviously you want the opposite to be true, if anything. So it's either going to be the same size or a bit bigger. So I just wanted to sort of explore that a little bit. I was experimenting with maybe the body like tilting a bit further away, but I don't know if that worked really, so you can just ignore that. They have sort of like a hunched over, like, ugh, okay, dude. See, it's good to like erase and then draw over it again, because it helps you to sort of like push and experiment. You can do that with traditional as well. I would definitely recommend trying to get a kneaded eraser. They're super fun.
But you don't need it. You can see, I think, Ali or someone drawing a thing up here. See, like the mouth shape they're going with, and how that affects the muzzle and all that.
Reveal yourself to us, whoever is drawing that. So CPC, is it Ellie? I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, it is
Oh
me.
yes. I wonder why you've been quiet.
And the other thing I want to encourage, don't be afraid to be a bit messy. I see you have like an undersketch here, but like over here I keep drawing little shapes to kind of help me out. Um, so don't be afraid to utilize little shapes to build up things to make bigger shell shapes. Like we can see here the neck kind of got very tiny compared to the head, and then the body is even smaller than that. So by, thinking of the neck as a cylinder that we connect down, we
That
can
cute picture drawing.
build it back up. And we can kind of build everything so they
That's
feel like they have a
super
little bit more
good.
weight.
That's super good. See,
Yes.
that's the. I just kind of started going off of it, but Ali's got a whole process here.
But yeah, honestly, most importantly, have fun with it. It's a lot. Art's a lot. And if you can learn to really enjoy it, it'll always be your best friend.
Yep. Especially when while you're, learning and getting started and all that sort of stuff. Your job isn't to make good art. Your job isn't to make stuff that meets your expectations. It's not to, learn. Your job is to keep yourself motivated enough to keep on drawing, because that's how you'll get to the point where your stuff will eventually meet your expectations and you'll be happy with it.
Personally, I feel like your job's a little bit of all of that, but it's important not to get too bogged down in like my art isn't as good as I want it to be. Like keep go like Pixie said, like as long as you keep going and keep drawing, then that's the important thing. And there are always like disheartening moments. Always like, oh man, look at this person's art, it's amazing. I don't know how I'll ever be that good. Why am I even trying? But then it's like really important in those points just to remember that it's fun, and also to like weaponize that envy and break down their art and steal it, steal every little thing about it. But yeah, it's about like having the right mindset and like motivating yourself. Yeah, like trying to race to the finish line just because you want to be good at art or because you want to improve is not the motivation you should have. The motivation should be because you want to keep drawing, and then like you can try to improve or do studies and breakdowns and whatnot on top of that if you want to. But if that's not your thing, then just draw and have fun.
Heck yeah.
Oh no, I just saw CPC's coming in the Discord. There's a Friday 13th this month, Murphys, here I go. Oh no, it's gonna be so cursed.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments on this art?
Nope.
All right. Well, seeing as that's all the pictures we have, we're going to call it a day. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.